I met a neighbor's dog one night, taking out the trash. This happened when I was about 14 years old. It still sits, ingrained in my memory. We moved a few times in my life. My parents taught school, but eventually, my father took a role in a country church in the rural US, a good, quiet community. Folks were nice enough, and we settled in just fine. Our home was not far from the church facility itself, out in rural farmland. Our home was one of those typical country houses with a long driveway, at least 300 feet from the house to the road. Was to take out all the trash and take out the trash bin to the roadside for the garbage pickup the next morning. I collect all the interior trash, get it into the bin, and get my shoes on to roll it up the driveway and up to the road. It was a clear night. The stars were out, and though there was some dim glow from the town we lived in, you could see them clearly enough. We had a nearby neighbor in the next land plot over, whose property was mostly cornfields and some woods lining the property up next to ours. This becomes relevant in a bit. I'm walking down the driveway, whistling a favorite tune, looking up at the stars, dragging the heavy trash bin full of garbage out towards the road. Things get darker as I head down the driveway, but I knew my way pretty well by then. The distant glow of the front porch light giving me a slight guide. I froze when I looked to the left. The silhouette of a white canine stood there, staring at me. At first, I started to panic, thinking it was a wolf. But then I realized that didn't make sense, as there are no wolves where we lived. I slowly started moving forward again, thinking it was no big deal. Then the thought dawned on me. There are coyotes out there, but white coyotes shouldn't exist around here. That seems odd. I decided to move at a faster pace. The canine comes out of the woods and starts moving towards me, slowly at first. My heart leapt into my throat. It then speeds up into a trot, beelining towards me. I'm really beginning to sweat, as though I've made it to the road, there's barely any light out there. And I don't have anything blunt I can use to defend myself if this thing is hostile. The animal gets close enough that I can see it's obviously just a dog. Not a wolf or a coyote or anything scary. It comes up and just stops. No sniffing, no friendly actions towards me. But no hostility either. It just stands and stares at me. In the dim glow of the porch light, I see it has a black collar on, with a little tag shining on it. The tag is square in shape and has a name on it, Buck. The dog, I presume is named Buck, eventually stops staring at me and slowly moves on, beyond our driveway. It stops abruptly, takes a defensive stance, and starts growling in a low rumble. This is where I became unsettled. I looked at where the dog was staring and growling. Just across the road in the cornfield, I see a pair of glowing something, 2 dots. I can't tell if they're just eyes shining from maybe a bobcat or a deer, or they were too high up off the ground to be a small animal, almost like something taller, standing there. Something felt very off about that moment, and just as I began to consider what those dots were, the dog lurched forward, barking and sprinting towards them. They disappeared into the cornfield, the tall corn plants rustling, with the dog darting in after. I'm slowly backing away, the crickets chirping like a harmony to this entire situation, when all of a sudden, the scariest howl I'd ever heard rang out. My fight or flight instinct kicked in, and I went into an all-out sprint for the house. Got inside and locked the storm door and front door immediately. I'm in a cold sweat, and my dad asks what happened. I tell him what occurred outside, and where the dog had come from, and he decides we'd go over and ask our neighbor if maybe it was their dog, and I just witnessed it catching a deer or coyote or something it wanted. The next morning, we got up, had breakfast, then walked over to our neighbor's house to describe to him the events of last night. I tell him the description of the dog and saw a tag named Buck on it. He stands there, bites his lower lip, then asks if we're sure that's what we saw. I tell him I was certain. Black collar, square tag with the word Buck on it. He takes us to his backyard near his metal barn, to a small wooden cross with a black dog collar hanging on it. A square tag with the word Buck on it. Buck was my farm dog and best friend for 12 years. He died last year. My wife and I never forgot him. Son, I'm not sure what you saw, but that can't have been my dog. My heart both sank and started beating rapidly at the same time. What did I see last night? We lived at that home for another 2 years, without any further incidents before eventually moving away to another place in SW, Missouri, where I lived until I moved out for college. I will never forget that night, and everywhere I've lived since has been well lit with short driveways, and no cornfields nearby. Good dog.